Hey everybody, and welcome back to Pixelated Geek's coverage of E3 2015. We just finished watching the EA press conference, which was essentially an hour of napping and then 5 minutes of exactly what we wanted. So, I think in the pre-show we mentioned a little title that's coming out this holiday called Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah.
They knew what they had.
Yep.
And they sat on
They
it.
did. They sat on it the whole show, and it was amazing because top of the show they mentioned that they had it, and then they said, "Oh, that's gonna happen."
They knew the banner. The banner
yeah, they had banners
said,
too.
In 50 minutes.
Yep.
Star Wars Battlefront.
And then every 15 minutes or so, they would update it with what was coming next. But what was coming next was really just an excuse to say how much time they had until they showed Battlefront. And so we are going to talk about one or two things before we get to Battlefront very briefly. Guess what? Surprise! There's going to be a Madden, FIFA, and not a Tiger, but a Rory McIlroy this year.
And
all the EA
NHL?
Sports titles are coming out. There's going to be an NHL. So all the games that come out every single year from EA are coming out this year. You heard it here first. Scoop. On top of that, Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare 2, which actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, a game that didn't need a sequel.
I don't think it needed a sequel.
No.
I think I would have been okay if they had done DLC.
I mean, and I remember, if I remember correctly, and you bought it too. When it came out, it wasn't $60.
No, I bought it day one. I think it was like 30.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
even for a sequel, they handled the first one well.
Mm.
It was fairly priced for exactly what it was. Everything they did post-release entirely free. Something they are continuing with the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
They've added new things to keep it interesting. Really, I think amongst us, it just made us want to play the first one again.
Yeah, I wonder to some degree. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, I'd like to see the pricing on that because I hope that's not going to be a $60 game. I hope it's also
It won't be.
the same.
It won't
It looks good. I mean, it's definitely a compelling looking title. I think my biggest issue with it is just its timing in comparison to some competitors.
Yeah, it's not a. I mean, it's certainly obviously not a AAA or blockbuster game. It's not something you're going to camp out to get.
No.
It is exactly what the other one was to me, which was a fun, light diversion from when you get this overburdened feeling of, oh my god, I have so many games to play.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of I'm in a gap waiting for a new game to come out. I need something fresh to do. And you sit down, you play that game, you get lost in it for a couple of hours, and it's like being a kid again. The game is simple, it's fun, there's no meta level thinking. There's not I've got to try to in around on these people. You just do it, and it's
a
fun,
lot of
easy.
What I find that we run into, the three of us, and I know it's because we kind of have to play games sometimes, is that games get so dark and they get so serious and they get so intensive, and there's a lot of games just forget that they're games. And I appreciate trying to elevate the art form into a more mature sort of narrative, and but sometimes you just need a game, and that's a game, and
That's
it's
exactly
fun.
what that is.
And so, I mean, that's cool. There was a big thing actually at the top of the show, which was just a reveal for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Unraveled.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in a second. But so, Mass Effect on Andromeda, which presumably takes place in the Andromeda Galaxy, because, Andromeda, I don't know. That I might be going out on a limb with that one. But it definitely looks cool. It showed, look, planet, and then it showed, a crazy-ass Mako.
Yeah.
That thing looked fast. That's very exciting. Will be great when it comes out in, 2020, presumably.
And, for the Xbox players, you can play the old Mass Effects to refresh yourself.
Absolutely, they did throw that out there. Mirror's Edge 2, probably, out of everything that we saw other than the obvious, I think Mirror's Edge 2 is probably the most exciting.
Yeah.
Beautiful game.
Yeah.
Apparently open world, which for some reason I didn't expect that. They said no levels, and then they said open city. So I don't know what exactly that means.
Well, if it's I mean, this is the prequel to the original title. So in theory, the job of being a courier is not one that necessarily has clear starts and finishes. You would run around and pick up a job and then do it and then keep going. I guess it kind of fits with the main flow of the game.
I think it's well suited. I was just a little bit surprised because of the visual polish. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't expect open world games to have a lot of visual polish.
Could be like
cautious
Dishonored,
about that.
where it's zones that you do.
Yeah, and still kind of open world. The way Dishonored or Thief handled it. Okay, yeah. Looked beautiful. One of the things that was sort of noticeable, like across the board, everything was beautiful. Need for Speed looked great. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that EA has really dedicated itself to two major engines. Everybody that works for all of the companies that makes games for EA has a lot of experience with either the Frostbite engine or the Impact. It's not the Impact engine. What is the EA Sports engine?
Inferno?
I don't know that that's right. But regardless, there's one engine for all EA Sports games as well, and so you can see that.
Ignite.
Ignite. That's right. So everything looked really, really, really good, but nothing looked as good as I'm blanking on it again. Battlefront. Yes, Battlefront. That's right. So
it's gonna be funny.
One day. So what struck me, I mean, obviously, the thing about Battlefront that really sets it apart is that you're looking at a combination of photogrammetry, which is utilizing actual, like, visual imagery to create an object. The original props from the trilogy, they're using, studies of the sort of visual effects from the trilogy. And then you're using a very good engine that they're very used to. And so the game looked gorgeous, but what really, I think, blew all of us away, we all had a massive verbal reaction to it, was the character model for Luke Skywalker. Like,
they went back in time, picked up Mark Hamill, and then put him in Tron, and then they made Tron Battlefront.
That's the best character model I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, hands down.
And it was in engine. This was not like pre-rendered. No. And even when they did the gameplay, and they actually they showed a bit of like playing as the hero character, as Skywalker. He looked the exact same way as he did like in that isolated screenshot they showed us the first time.
Just that game. From the second that gameplay trailer started to the end of it, you could see an unprecedented level of detail and incredible visual realism. Like, ragdolls normally look dumb.
Yeah.
The reason why we call them ragdolls is because they have this sort of weird, like, collapsing sack of grain kind of thing to them. And, like, when people flew through the air and, like, landed on something or, like, died and fell, like, it looked great.
Like, when they were running, like, they fell, like, with momentum. And, like, it just... I've never seen body animations like that.
I've never seen anything like that.
And like they talked that up in Battlefield 4, and I don't know if it's because I've played so much with that I just don't notice those things anymore. Yeah. But in that, it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they've reduced the player count. Like they talk about, they focus on more of the details, so they really make sure that things like that really stand out and are really, really polished.
I actually don't think the player count decrease is bad, because that means these
I don't
more
think
intimate like squad battles where you've got
and I mean I'm thinking back on the games of Battlefield 4 that we play, because we play that game pretty regularly together. I don't know that we're often in 30 versus 30 matches. Like I remember plenty of 24 versus 24, like plenty of 12 on 12s. Like I've done like the multiple size fights, and like I think as long as the player count is well suited to the map size,
that's what matters.
And the respawn time and everything like that.
Yeah, and I think that DICE has more history and experience balancing those aspects, player count, map size, design philosophy, than anyone else. It didn't look empty.
No.
It didn't look empty at all. And it didn't appear to be like a huge map. But it looked amazing. It looked amazing top to bottom.
Because when they were showing you mentioned the photorealism, the inside of the cockpits of both the Snowspeeder and the TIE Fighter, the airspace seemed crowded enough that it seemed appropriate, as it was this, like, it's a battle over this one particular area of the planet. It's not going to be like, in a way, our original thoughts of like, are we going to see out of atmosphere to inner atmosphere battle in one map? In a way that almost wouldn't make sense. I mean, yes, there would be a battle going on outside the atmosphere, depending upon what the situation.
But it would be difficult to have a continuity.
Right.
Like it would be if you were in orbit in a fight and there was something going on down there, you would be disconnected from it.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be in a position to affect the match.
Yeah.
And we saw item pickups, like the rocket launcher.
We did.
Yeah.
Like that.
How those
Yeah.
worked.
So-
Some of the UI was just a little bit over-present for me. Like,
Yeah.
the little floating hologram of the weapon pickup was strange. That was the only one that really got me, because like some of the other holograms, like they make sense because there's holograms in Star Wars and that's just a thing. But like it was just like a floating rebel symbol and like he walked through it and then had a rocket launcher, as opposed to like there being a rocket launcher on the ground. It's a little nitpicky stuff.
I don't know if it's a placeholder, but they need to make sure that there's something so you know that it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just
Absolutely.
like some crates with one leaning against it, you could run right past it and not know it's
Because
there.
it matters to pick up these things now. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
I could use this. It's now, you need this.
And
Yeah.
when we saw him use it, the way that the AT-ST cockpit just
Disintegrated and it collapsed. It's not just the body's animation that looks amazing. Like everything about the vehicles feels incredibly real.
The sounds too.
Yeah.
When there was like the weapons fire that was missing, like the sparks, it was just like it was in a movie.
It was Star Wars.
It really
We just saw Star Wars.
Oh my god!
I'm so excited about this game. And the thing is, we knew that it was going to look good.
Yeah.
I was just really worried that everything that we had seen static and then everything that we had seen that was an asset, just somehow it wasn't quite going to gel and work.
And that was the PS4 version too.
Yeah, so favorite thing is that,
They picked that version to show.
yeah. So I don't know how that's going to translate to the Xbox One, presumably identically. I can't imagine, like,
That's just
generally
pretty good
what
about
happens
getting them.
when you're doing, like, across platforms and on PC, you take the limitations of the most limited device and you code for that.
Yeah.
And then you can do fun things if it's more powerful, you can upscale or whatever. We know that the console version is going to look amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. One thing that stood out to me that I wouldn't have expected was when they were setting up they basically doing the establishing shot of where you were going to start inside the tunnels. Like some snow fell, and when it hit the ground, it was like that's how actually a piece of snow would fall and hit other snow.
Yeah. Just,
Before it'd be just like a chunk, and it hits this other chunk and like just.
and it would be an animation that looks like it kind of doesn't belong, and it would hit, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
look like it matched, and then it would just disappear.
So console version looks
Good.
amazing.
Right, and that
Beyond
makes
good,
us
I
all
think.
feel a lot better because we're gonna get an even prettier version of that game. So, bam. Yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in. You should probably go buy Battlefield, is what
Yeah.
you should do. Because
Battlefield.
that's what you should be playing. Battlefield. Battlefront. See, I keep forgetting the name because it's not that big a
Just
deal.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah, seriously, amazing title. Looks incredibly good. EA's press conference was on the whole disappointing because they knew they had a big shiny win button at the end.
Yep.
I don't even think they're really prepared. They're just like, just throw some shit up there. Like a dude who, like, plays with his yarn buddy in
Yeah.
the wilderness. We're just going to let that play. Thanks so much for watching this. We'll be right back with Ubisoft at 6 p.m. Thanks.